Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wolverine Beat, our weekly rambling look at Michigan football, occasionally some basketball. That's probably more for later in the
Down the
winter.
road, sure.
Yes. For now, it is all hardball all the time. It is the quarterback situation. It is the upcoming opponents. And we're going to start right there. I think let's just jump. I don't think there's really too much to go over this point for the UNLV game, other than kind of using it as a marker for certain things. But this BYU game, I'm very, very curious
game,
about this one. It is a real game, and real opponent. It's going to have a big game feel to it. I think it's going to be kind of cooking a little bit there at the stadium, and it should be
nice
good stuff.
way to gauge sort of where you've come since the Utah game into now, which will be the prelude to your Big Ten season. We talked, and honestly, I think regardless of opponent, there are areas you can point to that have made great strides for Michigan over the last couple of weeks. The offensive line, just in turn, and again, people have said, well, we only played. I don't really care about that. I mean, some of that stuff. Some of those real low sack, only one sack allowed in 3 games. Tackles for loss are way down. Yards per carry are way up. Guys are improving. It seems like every week. Now you get to see, and that's fact. That's not. I'm not guessing that guys are improving. They are.
Right.
But now you get to see how much have they improved in a couple weeks. Same with maybe some things on defense. How much has it gotten better from week 1 to week 4? And really, it's a gauge of. Sort of where you're at and where you're headed. I mean, it's the end of the first third of the season.
Quarter.
Third.
Whatever.
End of the first period, I should say, right? Because it's 4, 8, 12. So if we're not counting a bowl,
damn well that I have no idea how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an end of a frame in your season, and you're going to start back up again. So I just think it's a really good chance to see where you're at. I wouldn't read overly into it one way or the other. I don't think that's fair, but
going
into
the 3 games that follow it, Maryland, Northwestern, and then Michigan State. I think I made the point in one story. You can't worry about beating Michigan State until you can beat a team like BYU at home.
This is a little bit like the old Notre Dame games, little bit, in a sense of it's a bit of a measuring stick. It's a bit of and more than that, it can be a really confidence booster for you.
Yeah.
It can be a really nice, you get this win, it's a top 25 team. Everyone thinks it's a top 25 team. There's no debate on whether or not BYU belongs in that discussion. You win this game, and now you've got a nice little breeze at your back. And I think you already do a little bit, but now it gets a little higher, and you go into Big Ten play, like you say, on the road at Maryland, then you get Northwestern, then you can worry about Michigan State.
Sure.
So you get a nice, a win here would do an awful lot in terms of just confidence, which is a fragile thing anyway, but for this team, necessary, has to happen, has to continue to build. I don't think a loss devastates you or anything like that, but it's just a really nice measuring stick.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it.
And for that measuring stick, when we were in the preseason, I was thinking this is a 7 or 8 win team at that point. And I mean, I'm comfortable saying this team is a much better.
They look better than I thought they would 3 games in. I'll say that.
Further along,
in a lot of areas.
Competence.
Organization.
There's a certain level of competence that was missing, and that's not to be, an extra shot at Brady and the former staff, but this thing it's much more operational from top to bottom, and not nearly as many ridiculous errors and things like that. So
they're just playing football.
They're just better.
They have a confident coach who's completely comfortable in his company. He doesn't like the word comfortable, but his job is secure. He's got nothing to worry about in terms of that sort of stuff, and he's never lacked confidence a day in his life. And I think that translates down to where, a season ago, 2 seasons ago, you had a guy who was obviously worried about his future every day, wasn't, could say maybe he was confident, but doesn't project it like this. And I think that trickles down, and I think you're seeing that. You're seeing an organized team, competent team, but also a confident team. I think that's happening in a lot, especially on defense. I mean, those guys are really kind of cutting loose and making plays, and that's been a big difference.
One thing I think that's starting to trickle down is not being asked about non-football stuff anymore. and that's not just from the media and stuff like that, but that
That's anywhere,
every storyline for a long time there had been just about off-field stuff, had been about the coaching situation, had been about replacing the coaching staff, things like that, the athletic department.
Yep, it never stopped.
Cokes being given out for game tickets,
right.
everything except, hey, offensive line, how are you going to get better next week? The conversation was always out in the clouds instead of on the field, and I really think that in terms of that focus that we're talking about,
Could be
that
part of it,
that
yeah.
has I think that has a tunnel effect of getting this team actually more ready to play week in and week out.
I mean, that, and they were shielded pretty well throughout the summer, the offseason. Most of the talk was about their coach, and I think that was a designed plan by the coach to keep those guys, just allow them to work, and that's that's continued. And it's not like Michigan's hiding guys. I mean, we're talking to plenty of guys every week, and they just seem more confident, more comfortable, and that could just be from a fresh start. I think a lot of guys said it was a fresh start. Whatever it is, bottom line is they have progressed in several areas week to week. And the one thing I continue to say all offseason, I kept saying that if they got to 8 wins, I think that's a nice year for them, considering the situation. Regardless of their win-loss total, though, I was very confident in saying that by the time they play Ohio State at the end of the year, it will be much better than what they were against Utah. So that means you're going to do this for most of the season. Maybe it'll be like a little bit like that, but ultimately it's going to go up. Where in years past it would be,
Right.
That's gone. I mean, I think this will continue to be maybe it's a slow burn, but it'll continue to be an incline, I think. And that the first 2 weeks have proven that to me in many different areas, because I frankly didn't think the line would make that big of it. I mean, they made some huge strides week 1 to week 2, and then I thought, considering UNLV put everybody it had in the box and just stopped the run, they still did all right. So, very positive stuff going on in a lot of spots.
Well, all right, let's get illogical, what the people want. The next 4 games, up until that bye, all right? So again, the next 4 games are BYU here, at Maryland, Northwestern here,
Michigan
State here.
Yeah.
4-game record. What do you think? What do you think they could pull out in that 4-game stretch?
I mean, I think 3-1 is entirely possible. I mean, I really do, and that obviously depends on this game. I think at Maryland has struggled. I don't think Maryland's very good. I didn't think Maryland was very good last year. That was the case. Maryland comes in here and wins a football game where Michigan is just spiraling. I don't think, and Michigan probably still should have won the game, so I think Michigan will be fine in that game. I really do. Northwestern, I'm still not a total. Yeah. I mean, what they beat? 19-10, and then they beat Stanford. Well, that Stanford win's looking a lot better now. Stanford put it on USC and they put up 40-some points, I think, in that game. So that said, though, I mean, we've sort of been down this road with Northwestern in the past, where they've looked good and they come in there and this is going to be the year they get Michigan, and Hoke, I believe, beat them every year. I mean, it's like a snake bitten thing. Maybe that turns around at some point, but they've got them here. They don't got to play there, which isn't that big of a deal, but still. You get them here. Your defense is really good, too. Their defense, even if it is really good, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I think Michigan wins that game. Unless something crazy happens that proves me completely wrong. I mean, I picked that as a win before the season. I still think playing here, you're going to get better every week. I mean, if it's a battle of, I'm not saying Pat Fitzgerald's a bad coach, but that could be one of those battle of wits against 2 coaches, because it's 2 defenses knocking each other around, and who's going to make the right adjustment. I'm going to take Harbaugh on that one.
And that's one of those games that determine if you're in
that's
whatever
a big
bowl
game.
or
that's
in a real
that's a
game.
trip to the Citrus Bowl, or a trip to somewhere else that you don't want to go.
Right.
Possibly. Because Northwestern, we can say whatever we want. I mean, their defense looks good enough to carry it.
Right.
Carry it through some spots that already happened. I mean, we got a road win at Duke. We were able to hold off Stanford. I mean, I don't know what to think of Stanford. I don't know if Stanford was just a mess that day or what, but could have been.
I'll be interested to see.
But I think that's certainly more than absolutely. Those are 2 absolutely winnable games. BYU's absolutely winnable game. Now, Michigan State's where it gets hard because, while I think, and I said this early in the season too, I think that'll be a much closer game than it's been. I think Michigan will show up and play much better. I don't think Michigan State's defense is as good as it was, but at the same time, Michigan State has an All-American quarterback, and Michigan has, a guy who's being asked to manage the game, and basically that's it. So that's tougher. I mean, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, obviously, but that's where things get difficult. I mean, you got them at home. That's a positive. You're going to be prepared for the football game. There's not going to be any garbage going on.
Right.
That always seemed to be the case with Brady. That's not going to happen.
I won't be there, which is to everyone's
You won't be
benefit.
there. So again, I think that's a much better game than everybody's giving it. Probably most people are giving it credit for. I think Michigan plays them tough. I really do. I think there's a lot of built-in, and you can say Michigan State's players are sick of talking about whatever. I think Michigan's players are sick and tired of getting the crap kicked out of them in that game and hearing about it all year. And
but there is.
Can you win it? I don't know. But I think they give them a game.
How Michigan State uses that game.
I think Michigan uses it the same way for a change.
Yeah.
I used to say that all the time. Well, why can't
they also have to get their talent level up to the
Yeah,
same
but I mean, why can't Michigan carry itself the same way? Where last year you lost a game and you were humbled pretty badly, and their coach threw a fit because your guy threw a stake in the ground and made a whole big deal about it, and your head coach had to apologize and embarrass himself publicly. Why can't you be pissed off about that? Pardon my French, but
I think we're all right here.
Why can't Michigan carry the same? I mean, I don't get that. To me, it was always that. To me, also falls on coaching in that if you're not going to emphasize certain things, and I think Harbaugh emphasizes every game this way to a certain degree. Every game is extremely important. I think he's probably got enough in the tank to be like, look, guys, negative rushing a couple years ago, they laughed at you all the whole year. Last year, that you got beat. They laughed at you when you scored a touchdown late because you thought it was a big deal, and then you threw the stick. They laughed at you for that, made your coach apologize, embarrassed you.
I'll tell you what, right now, if they come out...
Why can't they be upset for that?
If they go and beat Michigan State, he might win Coach of the Year in his first year.
Huge win.
Absolutely.
Michigan State's still a great team, but
you're not saying that.
I'm not saying that they're
this right now.
No, I'm just saying I think it'll be a close game.
You're
I think they'll give them a game.
More of a legitimate chance than maybe some people give.
Yeah, I think they'll give them a game. And I think it's not just because Jim Harbaugh's the coach. I think it's because you have an older team who is now being sort of obviously pushed in better directions, but you have an older team who has to be tired of it.
Sure.
Has to be sick and tired of it. And that's just, I mean, I think that's part of the deal for the whole year. And you've seen that with the offensive line over the past couple weeks. And Ben Braden said it yesterday, after that first game, we talked all summer about how we were going to be different, and then we go play that first game, and it's the same stuff. And he said after that, it was really, okay, that's enough. We're not going to do this again. And they put in extra work. They've done, it's a lot of stuff where coaches are just looking at them saying, if you want to be better, that's on you. Go do it. And a lot of guys have answered that challenge so far. We'll see how far it carries. I'm not saying they're going to go 10-2 or anything crazy like that. I don't think that's the case. I still, I picked 7-5. That could still very well be on the table. 8-4.
I'm taking 2-2.
But at some point, do we think at some point they're going to get one from somebody they're not supposed to beat?
Yeah, and
I think that they probably will.
I think they might also give one up to someone who
maybe
a little bit unexpected.
I think it could be both.
That's just the talent level of this team, and Jim Harbaugh can't take snaps, and guys have bad games. You heard David Shaw talking after the win over USC when people were trying to get him to explain why they could be that good against USC and why they could be that bad against
Northwestern. Yeah.
And he gave what I think was a really legitimate answer. He's like, sometimes you don't really play well. Sometimes you just have a bad game.
Right. And if you're not good enough to overcome that, then that's a problem.
Right.
Not everybody's Ohio State's talent level where they can overcome.
Just plug in a different guy.
Yeah,
right.
And
do
go
whatever.
through it.
Right. You can put in your second team and say, "Win the game, boys," and they can go do it because you got.
That Northern Illinois game's a classic example.
Right.
You're playing like garbage, but you find a way to do it just because you're better.
So with this group, I think they could steal one at some point, and they could give one away at some point, and. I think something as unreasonable as what would look like the Maryland game. But, the team still has to prove that it can win on the road. Yep. It still has to happen.
That's a big one. That's a big, and that's why Maryland would be interesting to me, too, is you got to, it's got to carry over.
Yeah.
It's got, at some
Maryland
point,
is bad.
Yeah, and they are, but I don't care because it's an environment, it's at night, it'll be a big home game for them. They've got to find a way to start winning games on the road again in any environment.
Yeah.
And that's one of those baby steps we talk about where it's like, okay, we'll just get the offensive line competent first and then worry about whatever later. They've done that. Now they can start stacking things on top. The road game is when you're building your program, there's certain things you got to come over the hump, and that's obviously one of them right now is carrying over whatever it is you have at home to a road game. At home, the defense always seems to play very well.
Yeah.
On the road, there were times last year where it did, and there were times, Rutgers, where it was a total mess, where it just didn't, everything didn't carry over. So your best players have to be their best in every environment. It is what it is. Sometimes you get beat, that's the Utah. We saw that, a couple mistakes, and you lose a game, but I think they're trending positively, I think, for the most part.
When you look at the league, and Harbaugh was asked about it yesterday with, Ohio State 1, Michigan State 2, what that does for the conversation of the perception of the league, that some people say because they have 1 and 2, that doesn't matter that the rest of the league is so mediocre, and then you have other people say, that depth has to be a thing.
Yeah.
What's your?
Well, I think we'll have to find out because it depends on how Ohio State and Michigan State carry themselves in the league. If Ohio State and Michigan State are beating teams by 20 points every week and nothing's close, then what are we talking about? We're talking about a league that has 2 really, really good teams and a bunch of teams that got the crap kicked out of them by 2 really good teams. But if it's something where they're it's tough games, and that happened a few times last year.
Right, but
then maybe there's some depth. I don't know.
But the ultimate build of that question is the theory that if they go all the way through and they only beat each other, could they actually be in the playoff?
Or could they both be in there together?
Because that's the only reason I think that the question matters. Because when people say, SEC teams have to go through a harder schedule, it doesn't matter.
Them being in the same
all
division
that
makes
matters
it hard.
Is who is capable of being in the top
I don't know if it happens unless it would depend on what else happens outside the league. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I feel they're in the same division. You got to remember that.
Oh yeah, I know.
And that's if one was in the West and one was in the East, and they played each other in a classic in the Big Ten title game, and that was the only loss that the one team had. Oh yeah, put them back both in.
Right,
Why
but
not?
if that classic just happens to be in the earlier in the regular season.
I mean, I have a hard time with. I'm going to always have a hard time, I think, with teams that didn't win their conference, or even a division in their conference, being in the college bowl. I mean, being in the playoff. I feel like at some point.
I don't know if that would come. I don't think that would be on the table.
It depends on what else.
I don't think that'd be on the table for that committee, though.
Probably not. I don't know what's on the table.
If the one team,
happen,
if the team that did win their division happens to be number 1 in the country and undefeated, well.
And again, a lot of it goes down to perception, and we just talked about that. The depth of the league. If some of these other teams, for those two's sake, if other teams can start beating people they're not supposed to beat, then maybe. But now, I mean, how many signature wins other than Northwestern has the Big Ten gained here in the first? Right. I mean, outside of Michigan State with a good win against Oregon and Ohio State beating the snot out of Virginia Tech.
You're not counting Northwestern and Duke.
Northwestern and Duke. That's a nice win. It's a nice win. Right. But it's not something where I'm like
games like this Saturday.
Wisconsin didn't beat Alabama.
Games like this Saturday, Ohio State and Michigan State should be praying that Michigan beats BYU. Because the league is just so desperate for wins like that.
You got to have those.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was the same. Like Wisconsin played Alabama, and we saw how that went.
Right, just got trashed.
And it's not, I mean, and that's important. You got to start winning those games. Not, it's in January and a bunch of stuff happened. We got them in a couple bowl wins, whatever. Like, sometimes I don't know.
Do you think there's any carryover to that?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I kept wondering.
I think that's.
I kept wondering how legitimate that was. I mean, they got some nice bowl wins last year, but it was like. But Ohio State still ran through the league. Right. And Michigan State, other than losing to Ohio State, ran through the league and didn't have really any problems. What problems? I think Minnesota gave Ohio State a really good game. But was that about it? I mean, I can't remember all the bowls last year.
I just think that the also ran bowls have absolutely no bearing on the quality of the teams the following
year.
Fair
or not.
That's like people who, when someone goes to the NIT championship game or something like that, and they're like, well, they're coming off that big run in the NIT. There has never been proven that actually translates the following year.
And that's been part of
Richard Pitino.
That's been part of the SEC's advantage, too. And that they're like, well, we've won these bowl games. It's like, well, sometimes those bowl games are in really weird circumstances. Coaches left, something crazy has happened.
Half the players don't care.
Sometimes.
They're in these tropical areas, no one
So,
is
I mean,
paying
it comes down to perception. It comes down to whether or not your committee is willing to get by that and look at. And if it's a situation where Ohio State beats Michigan State and wins the whole thing, and Michigan State gets through there with only one loss, and there's not any other, and you look around the rest of the country, and there's an opportunity there, then why shouldn't that be the case? But it comes down to perception. To me, it comes down to perception of your league, and this is the other one that they don't ever want to talk about. It comes down to how much your brand can draw on a national stage on January 1st and on January whatever. Because don't tell me, and I mean it worked out in the end because Ohio State was the best team. Don't tell me for 5 seconds that they weren't in that playoff over TCU or Baylor, and that their drawing power had nothing to do with that. I can't be convinced otherwise. That was absolutely something working in their favor. It worked out, and they proved that they were the best team. But that's always going to be a factor to me. I mean, it's TV money, it's TV ratings. It's always going to drive it. It's driven this sport forever. And for anyone to think that all of a sudden it's just going to go away, I mean, come on.
I mean, I think you would need some years of evidence.
It would have to be several years of proving that point wrong.
Right.
And we're only 1 year in, obviously. And it's one of those you got to show me because money and ratings and brand, that's driven this place. That's driven the sport for a long time, and rightfully so in a lot of areas because it's like, hey, there's a reason why Michigan plays on these ABC games all the time.
Right.
More eyeballs, more money. Makes sense to me.
Right. I don't know if people really understand how big of a brand BYU is. Outside, okay, obviously we're in the Midwest, but you have a program that is big enough and has enough eyeballs and enough attention and is unique enough that they have their own ESPN deal. People talk about Notre Dame's deal. BYU
unique team. They're a unique team. I mean, they're just.
It's its own deal.
Always been very unique with all the guys who do their missions after high school and they're seniors and they're 25 years old, and Tanner Mangum, the quarterback, who's I believe 23, true freshman, 23-year-old true freshman. I mean, that's insane. 23.
Right.
I mean, what? I mean, that's an advantage.
Oh, obviously, these are men.
He's a grown adult at this point, and it's just a unique program, unique team.
I went
physical
back.
Team. They've been very physical under Bronco Mendenhall for years, and always seem to have something in their pocket.
This is totally unrelated. Well, it's kind of related, but this is when this thing goes off the rails. But so I went back and was writing something or doing something about BYU, and that '84 national title. Now I was 2.
Holiday Bowl, yeah.
You were how old in '84? 1.
Not to date ourselves here.
That would have been the biggest fraud national championship.
Yeah, they beat Michigan in the Holiday Bowl, and Michigan I think was 8-4 or something like that.
Yeah, they beat Pitt in the opener. In their opener.
That was the
only ranked team they played all year. They went and beat the hell out of everyone in the WAC.
And they beat a down, in those days, that was a down Michigan team.
Harbaugh
had broke his arm.
They were unranked. They were 6-5.
It was a derailed season.
And they got the national championship. And in the other game was like 2 versus 4. It was Nebraska, Oklahoma, those whatever traditional.
Was it a shared or was it an outright?
Outright consensus. And they beat one ranked team.
Yeah,
I don't know. You're
Bell
right.
Edwards
It is a lot.
was the run of the show out there.
Yeah,
Steve Young had just left.
Yeah,
he wasn't on that team, but
it was a year after Steve Young, the quarterback.
Bosco.
He was Young's replacement.
Steve Young.
So I don't know. People who are, I feel like
they got a national title.
Some people are still critical of the playoff, or they're like begging for it to be 8 games.
No, playoff's a better situation. It's just you got to work some kinks out, and you got to continue to iron it out. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah,
we can't have a 64-team tournament.
I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I think I saw this at like 1 a.m. last night as I was sitting at my laptop reading about BYU for some reason, and was just ranting and raving to myself how absurd it was. But
well, this is an event.
Typical life. Are we doing Twitter questions?
We had a couple here we can get to, yeah.
All right, real quick.
Let me open
it up. We got about 6 minutes.
Hang on, I got to load my computer back up. I think one was that I remember right offhand. Here we go. Aaron Burnside asked if last week was a step back or a step forward.
Step forward.
Yeah, I think some people were assuming it was a step back, and I think that's incorrect. Yeah, step forward, even if it's a small step forward. It was a win, and there was several positives you take from that. In that, your offensive line, you still ran the ball well. You got turnovers on defense. You got Ty Isaac to play really well, so that's a good plus.
Yeah, I said it after the game.
Passing game still needs work, but
my immediate question was, how close would that game have been a year ago? Back when these guys would shoot themselves in the foot at every turn.
Defense never allowed it to be a thing. The offense never really, it was one turnover. It didn't turn into 5.
Yeah, Yeah.
or something like that. We saw that game. That was Akron a couple years ago, and that should have been a loss for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a number of things you can point to that says that could have been better. This could have been better.
Step forward. Remember where you're at.
Yeah.
Remember where this is going. You got to be perspective with this. This isn't a team that people expected to win a national title here. This is a team that people just expected to continue to improve, and that was absolutely a step forward. I mean, how big? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Sure.
You're moving an inch forward, and that works for me. And then we got a bunch of other ones about Harbaugh's answers to the quarterback questions from yesterday, which...
Do you want to address that?
I mean, we can. I mean, it's him defending his quarterback.
It is.
That's all it is. And, I mean, honestly, here's the deal. I asked a question yesterday was, what areas can he improve in? And he took that as I was trying to suggest that somebody else should be the starter, which I wasn't. And I have written the exact opposite of that now for a good handful of weeks, I would think, dating back to the Utah game. It's been pretty. I mean, he's made it obvious that Rudock's the best quarterback on the team. I was just asking, what area, and they want to keep that in house. Fair enough. Bottom line, though, is he's being protective of his quarterback because he understands that's got to be the guy. That confidence, and that guy's got to have confidence. Got to protect him because there is no other option, no other choice, and he's the best guy on the team. So, doing what he should be doing, really, I guess. But I wasn't trying to. I wasn't trying to turn this into some ridiculous thing. I was just asking, what areas can he get better in?
I don't think you even said. Did you say Jake's name?
Yeah, I said.
Or you said the passing game.
I said Jake. I said,
Okay.
what areas can Jake get better in? Get better at, and
I mean, I still think it's a
something he doesn't
completely
want to talk about.
legitimate question, and especially for a former quarterback coach, to
well, again, we've heard about
address
this
the
too,
specifics
a bunch,
of
that obviously he's got the quarterback thing is a separate deal.
The quarterback is a special deal.
Special deal, yeah.
Not and I don't think he got combative with the answer, but I think it's something where he's trying to play it off as don't ask me about it because I'm not going.
It was almost like don't even go there, which I wasn't going to anyway.
I kind of get the sense of what he thinks is we're not going to play that game or something like that. Whereas I don't look at it as a game. I look at it as it's the most important position on the field. Sorry, that's the fact. And,
well, I mean, he's obviously the starter. That wasn't.
There's a reason that they get asked about.
I mean, anyone who's still suggesting that he's not the best guy on the team is
no, I don't think anyone
missing the point, and that's certainly not what I was in any way suggesting at all. If he took it the wrong way, that's he's entitled to, I guess.
I just think he's trying to play it that he doesn't want people to ask him about it anymore. So he's going to put that type of response out there, thinking that people.
But at the same time, that's still that's
not
an area.
Be the case.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that area has to get better for them to do all the things we talked about 10 minutes ago. If it, and I'm not saying that it won't, but it has to get better. It has to. And again, he finally answered. Time on task was the answer, which made sense in the end, and that's really what I was sort of wondering. What is this just something where he's got to have more game time? And yeah, that's ultimately Harbaugh's diagnosis of it, is that brand new team, brand new offense, 13 different receivers, 3 games. He's got to have more games, not just practice. And Rudock had said this last week too. More games under his belt. Game reps, practice reps aren't the same thing.
Sure.
More games under his belt. They're assuming it'll get better. I have no reason to think it won't. Well, I guess we'll see.
I think they'll be fine.
No problem.
He's not going to go out. He's not going to win Big Ten.
But that was all.
You're
You're asking. Is it something where is there something different going on, or is it just time on task, which is what he said. So.
But he got defensive about it. He did.
This is the.
I'll say it. You don't have to say
fine.
it. I'll say it. He got defensive about it. I thought it was.
Not the first time.
I thought it was
last time. That'll
I thought
happen.
it was silly and overblown, but whatever. That's my opinion.
I'm sure it'll happen. I guess it's the first time he's been defensive.
Oh no.
This offseason or this season.
That'll be a thing.
And you know what? That's fine. He can do whatever he wants.
Sure.
He can say whatever he wants.
Sure.
He's the coach. He can answer any question any way he wants. He's not telling me I can't ask it. And I'm not. And it's not. I mean, he's misconstruing what I was asking, but that's not really a thing.
Right.
Again, we've said right here this whole time.
I think
when
people misconstrue things, that is somebody making something what they want it to be in their mind.
Yeah. And
So.
wasn't being divisive.
No,
So you
no,
guys
you
know.
were not. No, you were not.
Didn't wake up that day and said, I want create a quarterback
Poke the bear?
controversy. Okay?
Poke the
That's
bear?
contrary to what people may think. That's not something
I don't think
that
so.
I would ever want. That's
Yeah.
makes more work for us.
Anything else?
No, I think that's about it.
All right.
Good 30 minutes.
Okay. We will we'll wrap it up for this week. We'll be back this weekend from Michigan Stadium following Michigan versus BYU, and then back next week for another go at this thing. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you made it all the way through. And as always, for Nick, I'm Brendan. Thanks.